In 1212, tens of thousands of children marched toward the Mediterranean believing the sea would split in half for them. No weapons. No army training. Just faith. And what happened next is one of the most disturbing, misunderstood disasters in medieval history. But here's the part nobody tells you: the Children's Crusade may not have been what you think it was at all. And by the end of this video, you're going to see how a movement fueled by hope turned into exploitation, betrayal, and tragedy on a scale that still echoes today. Let's rewind. To understand how this happened, you have to step inside medieval Europe. In the 12th and early 13th centuries, the idea of crusade was everywhere. After the First Crusade captured Jerusalem in 1099, the concept of marching east to reclaim holy lands became embedded in European culture. Popes preached it. Kings funded it. Ordinary people romanticized it. By 1212, Europe had already endured multiple failed crusades. The Fourth Crusade had disastrously sacked Constantinople instead of liberating Jerusalem. Confidence in knights and nobles was shaky. So imagine being a peasant kid hearing adults argue about failed holy wars. What if the problem wasn't faith but the warriors? That's where the idea of pure, innocent children succeeding where hardened soldiers failed begins to make sense. But here is where it gets interesting. In France, a shepherd boy named Stephen of Cloyes claimed that Jesus had appeared to him and delivered a letter meant for the King of France. Stephen began preaching that children, not corrupt adults, would peacefully convert Muslims and reclaim Jerusalem. No swords. No bloodshed. Just purity. And thousands believed him. Reports describe crowds of young people gathering around him. Some were actual children. Others were teenagers. Many were poor laborers, servants, or wanderers looking for purpose. Meanwhile, in Germany, a similar movement formed under a young leader named Nicholas of Cologne. Two different regions. Same idea. Same year. This wasn't a coincidence. This was a social eruption. Here's the twist most history classes skip. The word used in medieval sources was puri. That doesn't strictly mean children. It could also mean youths, servants, or even landless poor. So was this truly an army of 8-year-olds? Probably not. Many historians believe the movement included adolescents and impoverished young adults. In a rigid feudal system, these were people with no land, no upward mobility, and no future. The crusade wasn't just religious. It was economic desperation dressed up as divine destiny. And that changes everything. Nicholas led thousands from Germany across the Alps into Italy. Imagine that journey. No supply chains. No logistics. Just faith and word of mouth. Many died crossing the mountains from starvation and exhaustion. But those who survived made it to the Mediterranean, convinced the sea would part for them like the Red Sea in the story of Moses. They waited. Nothing happened. The sea didn't split. No miracle came. And this is the moment where belief met reality in the harshest way possible. Stranded and starving, some of the group in Marseille were approached by merchants who offered them free passage to the Holy Land. It sounded like salvation. Instead, according to several chroniclers, those ships didn't go to Jerusalem. They went to North Africa. And many of the passengers were allegedly sold into slavery. Now, historians debate the full scale of this event. Medieval accounts can exaggerate. But what is clear is that many who left never returned home. Whether through death, enslavement, or dispersal, the movement collapsed into tragedy. Faith had made them vulnerable. And someone took advantage. When news reached Rome, Pope Innocent III reportedly praised their zeal but told them to go home. Think about that for a second. The highest authority in Christendom didn't authorize this crusade. He didn't send them. He didn't equip them. This was a grassroots movement that spiraled beyond control. And by the time leadership responded, it was too late. It's a chilling reminder of how quickly mass movements can form without structure and how slowly institutions react. Sound familiar? Strip away the myth, and you'll see three powerful forces colliding: religious fervor, economic despair, charismatic leadership. People genuinely believed God would intervene. The lower classes had little to lose. Young visionaries sparked emotional momentum. It's not just a medieval story. It's human psychology. When hope dries up, people look for miracles. When systems fail, purity narratives become powerful. And when crowds form around simple, emotional messages, reason often takes a back seat. The Children's Crusade wasn't just about religion. It was about vulnerability. Over centuries, the story morphed into a symbol of innocence betrayed. Poets and artists romanticized it. Some versions exaggerate the number of children into the tens of thousands. But modern historians suggest the numbers were likely smaller and the participants older than the legend claims. Still, whether it was 5,000 or 30,000, whether they were 12 or 19, the core remains the same. A mass of young, marginalized people believed they could change the world with faith alone. And the world crushed them. Here's the uncomfortable question: how different are we today? Movements still go viral overnight. Charismatic figures still promise transformation. Vulnerable populations still cling to hope when institutions fail them. The technology has changed. Human nature hasn't. The Children's Crusade shows what happens when belief outruns planning, when emotion replaces strategy, when purity becomes a weapon. And that's the real lesson history whispers to us from 1212. Thousands marched expecting a miracle. What they found instead was hunger, betrayal, and silence from the sea. The Children's Crusade wasn't just a medieval tragedy, it's a warning about what happens when hope is manipulated and structure disappears. If this story opened your eyes to how fragile movements can be, you'll want to watch the next video breaking down another historical disaster that spiraled out of control, and this one changed the entire map of Europe. Hit subscribe if you're fascinated by the moments history almost got right but didn't.